Hello, how old are you and where are you from?
29, rural Illinois.
Would you mind telling me a little about your childhood?
Sure, yeah. I'm from a small town, had a family that lived just outside the small town, and it was actually pretty interesting. I had a dad who was a pilot, so we would be flying around pretty often. But he also ran his own medical practice, so very busy in between those kinds of trips. But honestly, fairly uneventful as far as like any sort of gay bullying in small towns. I had a pretty decent school, pretty decent class. Nothing like no horror stories in that department. Yeah.
That's great. So you'd say you had a pretty good childhood.
Yeah, totally, definitely.
Nice.
Yep, good family.
Yeah. When did you realize you were gay?
Um, I would say that it's like hindsight 2020. There were definitely signs like very early on, but I think it started. I had a group of friends that would come over, and we would all like watch straight porn and masturbate, but they were all straight. Everyone was straight, and one of them took me into the bedroom, and we did the same thing. But he was like, "Well, let's put on gay porn," and I was like, "What the fuck is?" Okay, I've never done that. And after that, I was like, well, this is it.
How old were you, would you say?
I would have been in junior high, so maybe like 13 or 14.
Okay. When did you have your first sexual experience with a man?
That was my freshman year of college. We went into the shower stall, and I gave him a blowjob, and it was my very first one. And after about 5 minutes, he gave me a little tap and pulled me back up. So I was like, "Oh, okay, gotta practice that."
What would you say? What would you say your sex life is like now? How would you describe, what you're into sexually? Any specific kinks that you have?
Yes. So my main kink is that most of the time I'm wearing a chastity cage, and I have one here to present. So
Show and tell.
yeah, and I first kind of I must have watched porn with a cage in it because I know that it wasn't my own brainchild, but I was living in a rural town. There weren't many guys around, and I was like, I would like put something in my ass and then like masturbate right away and come and then be like done. And I was like, God, I'm never gonna get better at this. I'm never gonna get better at bottoming. It's kind of an art. It takes a lot of practice. And I was like, okay, how can I get myself to like not have that be the routine? So when I saw those, I was like, oh shit, I want to try that. I want to like see if this helps, and it totally did, and it kind of took off from there. So now that led into other things like being a sub and having a DOMs and things like fisting. So for the last like 2 years, I've had a Dom who held the keys. So like each of these lock, and there's a key. I'm in a much smaller one now. So that you like stay horny and can't have orgasms through your penis. And so it just kind of keeps you like a slutty horny mess constantly.
How long would you keep that on? What's the longest?
The longest I've had one on, like taking it off to like clean it and things like that, but then going right back in, I would say 4 or 5 months. Probably
Wow.
5 months, yeah.
Did
To the point where
not orgasm those 4 or 5 months?
no, I found new ways to have orgasms, which was part of why it's such a fun thing to do. Like you can have anal orgasms, you can have orgasms through like just like I can have orgasms from touching my nipples and like kind of like thrusting my pelvis a little bit. Like
Do you actually ejaculate?
Yep. Your body gets sensitive in crazy ways when it's been a long time. So yeah, it's like a cool way to learn more about your body and all the things it can do through like
Semen retention.
torturous, horny, withholding.
Wow. Have you heard of NoFap?
No fap?
NoFap is like this Reddit community where this group of men just practice semen retention, and they talk about the effects that it has on them. Like they feel like they have increased energy, and
Well,
they're able to, I guess, take all that testosterone that's like built up and I guess use it for other things. But it's interesting how while you practice semen retention and not actively trying to just go for the ejaculation, you're able to experience other kinds of orgasms,
right? Yeah,
as a male.
Yep. And I'm sure that those guys are, depending on how long they actually last, having like wet dreams, like nocturnal emissions. Like there's other ways that it can happen. So yeah, interesting. That's a different method, but similar to like Locktober or No Nut November. Like people do it in all kinds of different ways, but it's all kind of for the same thing.
Yeah. Would you mind going into more detail about just how, I guess, how you feel, when you're locked and you haven't, orgasmed in quite some time, how it, affects you mentally and physically? I know you talked about the different forms of orgasms, but
yeah. So my physically, my nipples get really sensitive, like incredibly sensitive. Like even like fabric touching them, like makes you like horny, and when another person touching them is a whole different thing. Yeah, it just keeps you, especially like the locking it and another person holding the keys element makes you feel like it's a constant reminder that you're like being controlled by another person consensually, and that keeps you constantly horny. Like the physical feeling of it on your body keeps you constantly horny, so it's just like this constant feedback loop of like, yeah, I'm a caged little sub that only gets pleasure from like getting fucked. So it's like it's constant every day, like constantly on your mind. The longer you last, the longer, or like the more it just builds up and makes you like into things that maybe you wouldn't be into if you came yesterday, or like more open to exploring new things. And it's a great gateway into learning more about your own sexuality, because you're just like, oh, anything, I'll take anything right now.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you like about being a sub? Or what do you like about being submissive?
It's kind of just natural to me, kind of like, what do you like about being gay? It's just is kind of the way it is. I like being led through sexual experiences. I like the kind of like being like a slutty princess, like the degradation and the ownership, but also like being cared for and yeah, feeling like safe and protected. Yeah, it's kind of just like an enhanced, like more clear roles, because like in a gay relationship or even a sexual relationship, some things kind of are unclear, like are you topping, am I topping, is like, yeah, so it's just like very like set in stone, like we know what's going on and you can like lean into your roles really easily.
Mm-hmm. What is one of the craziest sexual experiences you've ever had?
Cool. Huh. Interesting. I guess it's not that crazy in the gay world to like...
Any scene that, maybe someone has, gotten you to do or tried to get you to do?
Okay, I had a dom, and there were me and another sub, and he kind of gave us commands, and he would have us fist each other, and like we were both locked, but we had a strap on, and we would peg each other while we were both locked, so, while he like told us exactly what to do. So that was like a fun, interesting scene that I feel like is definitely uncommon, even in gay spaces.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.